Good morning, Oklahoma, and welcome to Cow-Calf Corner. This week's topic is estimating our hay needs for the rest of the winter. I know a lot of Oklahoma cow-calf operations. We've already found ourselves in the situation where we're feeding hay. We've been dealing with some dry weather. The good news story is that hay inventories are pretty adequate. It looks like at this point. We've even got some carryover hay from last year. But it is the point in time to be securing that hay supply for the winter, and what we're going to work through today can help us to know if we've got adequate hay inventory or if we need to be contracting for more to get our cows on through. There's three things fundamentally that we need to know in order to make this estimate. One, what is the average mature cow weight in our herd? We're going to learn that from weighing our 4 to 7 year old cows whenever we wean calves off of them. That's going to give us an adequate representation of the cows from 2 to 12 across the herd. And from that average weight, we can make a good estimate of how much hay a cow needs to consume each day or how much she's going to need to consume over time. Along with that, we want to estimate, or not estimate, but actually get an inventory of the amount of cows that we're going to be taking through the winter. And the third thing we need to know, what is our expected duration of time that we're going to be feeding hay? Like I said, a lot of operations are already on hay. I know we are at my house. So we're just going to take a look at this over the next 200 days as we go from, say, mid-October well into the month of May, a 1,400 pound cow herd and 100 such cows to work to an example of what we actually need. So at 36.4 pounds of hay a day, 100 cows are going to consume about 3,640 pounds of hay. Now, along with that, we need to take into account all of each bale is not going to be consumed. Cows are going to waste or lay on a good percentage of that hay, and all of each bale is not going to be totally good. We're going to deal with some spoilage in those bales. The good news story, if we're talking about hay that got baled in the summer of 2024, because of our drought, we're not going to see as much spoilage in those bales. If we're going back to feeding hay from the summer of 23, we're probably dealing with a healthier amount of spoilage. But for the sake of our example, we're going to bump up by 10% that 3,640 pounds of hay we need on a daily basis to take that up to around 4,000 pounds or 2 tons a day that we know we're going to need to feed those cows. So if we need 4,000 pounds of hay a day, we're going to be feeding that hay for 200 days. That's 800,000 pounds of forage dry matter we're going to need from now until next May. If we put that on a ton basis, that's 400 tons of hay that we're going to need to feed. Now, I encourage producers, if possible, buy hay by the ton, and that leads to a little less error in these calculations. If you're buying hay by the bale, we need an accurate representation of what each of those bales actually weigh and a good estimation of how much spoilage there is in each bale, which we'll get a feel for once we actually start to feed the hay. So we know that stage of gestation, wet cows or dry cows, and weather is going to impact the daily nutritional needs of a cow herd. So along with this forage dry matter requirement that we think about on a daily basis, we're going to have to add some supplemental feed in to accommodate weather, stage of gestation, and we know those cows are going to need more energy, particularly more protein, once they actually calve at some point later in the spring, and that's another layer to this management mix that we've got to add in at some point along the way. So estimate your hay needs, think about the amount of time you're going to be feeding hay. I know it's a tough time in Oklahoma right now, but it sounds like there's still a lot of hay in the country. Be securing that hay supply and get ahead of the management curve. I hope this helps, and thanks for joining us on Cow-Calf Corner.